Hello everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. And this is your weekly astrology reading. We're starting from November 27th, I think. Yeah, 27th, and we'll go through the December 3rd to Saturday. And there's a really interesting thing happening this week. So the moon's going to go through the signs of Capricorn to Aries. But what's going to happen is it will conjunct with Pluto, and then next to Saturn, and then next to Neptune, and then next to Jupiter, and then to Chiron, all in 1 week. So I can't wait to show you these charts. And then also the other thing that's happening is Neptune will go direct, will station direct on Saturday. So I have that chart for you as well. So anyway, let me swap out cameras here and get this going for you. Okay, hold on. Okay, so as you can see, I've highlighted a lot. The reason these aspects are highlighted are because they're sticking around all week. So it's actually really amazing. And I'll break it down one at a time. So let's go with the slower moving planets first. So we have Pluto in a sextile to Neptune and Jupiter. Really tight orb, though, from Pluto to Jupiter. So, and we've had this around for a while. Of course, this is, a repeat. So powerful Pluto is holding space for us to come into our power, to come into our authority, and to have that deeply in our bones. And the way that we have the sextile to healing Jupiter and source energy Neptune, I just feel this is so powerful, and it's becoming even more powerful as Neptune will leave its retrogradation at the end of the week and start moving forward. Because Pluto's direct, and Neptune will start moving this way. You can see that Pluto's at 26 degrees, Neptune's at 22. Well, at some point, and this is going to take months, Pluto and Neptune will be hanging around like this together. Remember, sextiles bring in opportunities. So these are healing opportunities to be in your power, connected deeply to your spirit. And we also have Neptune in the square over here to Mars, which is hanging out, for quite some time until at least December 4th, but then, we're going to be feeling it, I think, through next spring. But anyway, with that, we're having to stay very connected to source energy, to spiritual energy, to our compassion. We're going to have to stay devoted to our compassion, stay devoted to our love, because there's going to be a spin. There's going to be a lot of spin of false information, outright lies. Half-truths are still lies. And the way they hook us, or hook any human being, is through fear. And so there's Saturn trine Mars there. There's a connection, a flow of energy where dirty politicians will use fear, I'm speaking to Saturn here, and try to move energy, move people with, clickbait. Part of it will be social media companies that just want the clickbait, and they hook you through your curiosity and your fear and what you want, your desire. So if there are people out there that are connected or still, they haven't worked it out yet, they're in their negative pleasure when it comes to hatred. So when people, it's basically, like they get off on hating others and separating from others and being in fear, being afraid of someone else is different from them, which is why we're seeing all the gun violence, right? That this is the gun violence right here. It's an illusion that we're separate. It's not true at all, but we're having to find this out. And all week long, we're going to have that opportunity with Mercury opposing Mars. Mercury's going to ask you, what's the truth? What is it that Mercury's going to be dropping in messages? What is the truth? What is it that you really want? And you can research and do information, but the social sphere, the social media platforms are going to just be just ripe with a plethora of, there's going to be truth out there, but there's also going to be the lies. So just hold that in your heart. There's going to be some stubborn, not this one, stubborn here to the past, right? Adjustment that needs to be made from here. So from Jupiter, this can blow up things. This can blow up the victim consciousness, and there's going to be a stubborn holding on. So savvy politicians will try to make people afraid, and they'll come from the past. They want to take away your automatic rifles. They want to do, you need to protect yourself, blah, blah, blah. Things like that. So anything that drives a person in fear, anything that gets them into the self-protected, self-preservation mode, and it's not true, is, caught up in this web. So we have to be very careful. And I don't feel like I need to say that to you guys, but other than you're going to be seeing it out there, we're still holding space for this, this spin of lies, which is Neptune square Mars, which is Chiron in this inconjunct to the South Node is happening all week as well. Chiron is about healing. In Aries, part of it is no one wants to be left alone or abandoned or left out, and so they'll stay with people who are not even good for them just to not be alone. And an adjustment will need to be made at some point to clear out from the past. But now, if you've been working hard for years on your soul and you've been clearing the past, this will be a strength for you, because when you get into your deepest wounding and you keep working on it and clearing out by, when I say clearing out, by that I mean clearing out your false beliefs. And all of the transits support clearing out the false beliefs of the past and just letting go. Just letting go. We don't need it anymore. It's not true. Neptune square Mars supports that. Chiron in conjunct, or quincunx, same thing. The South Node in Scorpio, clear it out. We don't need the drama. We don't need the crisis. We know how to take care of ourselves, and now we know what we want, and we're motivated to go in that direction and create that solid foundation like never before. And all of the transits are supporting that. The North Node here, with joined with Uranus, has been there for quite some time, pushing us in that direction, and will until next summer. This the axis will still be in Taurus and Scorpio. So Taurus wants pleasure, but also safety. And Scorpio wants to have control. Well, they're both fixed signs. So we both, with both of these polarities, we both want control, but we want it for different reasons the more evolved we are. See, that's the thing. You can't just, it's like a tarot card or a planet. You can't just take it and say, well, this means that across the board, because it's not that way. There are many degrees of evolution. So it depends on how evolved a person is. That will be how the planet operates in their chart. So for instance, if you're coming from victim consciousness and you're always blaming, because the only way you can be in victim consciousness forever, for years and years and years and years, and play that card is to blame others. So if we're moving through life blaming others all the time, and you can see this with, certain politicians that just won't give it up, always blaming the Democrats or blaming, I don't need to say it, you guys know it. But when they're doing that, they're stuck in the negative energy, the delusion, or diluted energy, illusion of Neptune. But the highest level of Neptune is your source energy, it's your spirit. So in the purest, highest level of our spirits, we are not victims. We are all powerful, creative beings. And you see that with, the movies. You see that with art. We see that with our spiritual devotion, to stay in our compassionate heart space. We see it and we feel it. We experience it through art and music and our spiritual, mystical devotion. We experience it in our hearts with our empathy. And with Jupiter and Neptune still hanging out together for a little while more, there's healing in that. There's the opportunity to dissolve the false beliefs and to find the healthy beliefs. But some people are going to stubbornly hold on to the past because they want to make someone else responsible for their reality. And they do that because they don't want to take responsibility for their own lives. But when you figure out that you're the one with the false belief that doesn't believe you can do it, doesn't believe you're good enough, doesn't believe you have it in you, doesn't believe in yourself, basically, then you have to transfer it on to someone else to survive. Well, what happens when that person dies and they can't take care of you anymore? What happens when they walk away and say, I'm tired of being sucked into your negative vortex? And it's probably you guys walking away, right? Because you can't take it anymore. Then they have to stand on their own 2 feet or stand into their solid ground, stand into their authority, step up to the plate, and take care of their own lives. Now, we're talking adults here. We're not talking about children, and we're not talking about the handicapped. We're not, those are completely different situations where, we need to support them. We need to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves. So, don't get me wrong. Don't take this the wrong way. So that's the weekly overview as I'm seeing it. Let's look at, because that's really strong, but let's look at the sun in this trine to Chiron. So the sun in Sag wants to get to the truth. The sun shines the light. The sun illuminates things. It helps us to focus in. It can bring light to our vocation, our life purpose, our leadership, and our authority. And with the sun in Sag, that brings in the truth. It brings in freedom. It brings in our need to speak up, and because there's a natural trine between Aries and Leo and Sag, and that fire energy. Aries is like, I'm here. In the Leo, it's like, I love and I create. And then Sag is like, okay, but where do we want to go with all that? It's very directional. And it's very intuitive. If you're a healthy Sag, or if you have healthy Sagittarian, which is also Jupiter energy, because Jupiter, energy and consciousness, Jupiter rules Sag. So it's all about our belief system. It's all about healing and going into the areas of truth that will benefit your life and everyone's. Remember, when you benefit yourself in your life, you have more to give to others, and it benefits everyone. The best we can ever do is to work on ourselves and heal our own souls, and then everything works out from the inside out. We imbue that consciousness from the inside out as we move through life. So there's healing around religious dogma. There's healing that needs to happen with religious and political dogma, and even, like maybe something within organized sports. Like we put these, like Herschel Walker, for example, put these sports people on a pedestal and push them up as to like there's somebody special. Well, don't get me started there, but you can see how that can cause problems when people put other people on pedestals. It negates equality, it makes them special, and then especially when there's money involved, then their ego is fed in a different way that is not healthy. And I know everybody loves sports and they love the camaraderie, and I completely understand the love, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, all of that. I don't want to put any of that down. But I always question, like, what if that same amount of money was put into feeding children rather than building these stadiums, that are... I don't know, do your research and see, like, how do those fields stay green and warm enough for the football players to play on them, right? It's like a hydroponic water system underneath that astroturf in some situations, just look it up. You'll see. And then you have to question, how much does that cost? And then how much dark money is tied up into sports teams? How many oligarchs, how many Russian oligarchs have a hand and a say in the whole sports thing? And my goodness, the whole FIFA thing that happened last week, right? There you go. There's an example. So the sun in Sag and Venus and Mercury in Sag is shining a light on all of that and making us question, making us think, making us wonder, making us curious as to what's the real truth there when you get into spiritual law. Same thing with golf courses. They're beautiful. Who wouldn't want to hang out in the beauty of all those trees and the golf courses and, all of that? I truly, truly understand it. But how many billions of gallons of water are spent on those golf courses every year? In deserts, right? Golf courses in Vegas. What? What? And Saudi Arabia owning land, or owning water rights in Arizona. What? Right? There's so much to do your research on that will just blow your mind and make you scratch your head. But then it's all about money. It all comes back to money. And this polarity here between the South Node in Scorpio and the North Node in Taurus, we're talking money scandals, sex scandals, waking up. Like I always say, wake up and smell the cat box. It's time to make some changes. Need to clean things out. Is it sustainable? If it's not sustainable, it's going to fall apart. And that's what Saturn squaring Uranus is all about. And even though the line still isn't there to the South Node, I do a 7-degree orb, but I'm tired of drawing in the red line every week. So just know that Saturn is still in a T-square up here to the nodes. So Saturn is rules and governmental procedures and laws for humanity. So I think that's good enough with that part of the weekly overview. It's just that Venus is going to keep comparing and valuing and thinking about what's right and what's not, because that's that polarity of Sag and Gemini, right? Sag moving towards the truth and sustainability in big ways. We've got sustainability here, questioning. It's all over here. So I'm just naming things here. Then for the rest of, at least for today, for Sunday, what we have is Mercury and Venus and Sag trining Chiron. This is excellent for healing. This is excellent for going, hey, wait a minute, what about this? New ideas. And then also with the moon connected to Pluto, and like I was saying earlier, the moon is already here connected to Pluto for the day, but it's going to connect to Saturn and Neptune and Jupiter and Chiron before we're done with the end of the week. So the moon is very important. Now, what is the moon about? Well, it has to do with what we connect with. It rules the public. So there's going to be a lot of attention all week, because it's starting off with illuminating both. We have two luminaries here between the sun and the moon, and with the moon conjunct Pluto, there's more of an emotional feeling quality, more of a need to be in integrity with Pluto in Capricorn. There's more of an attachment to, like, well, how do we respond when we see people abusing their power? When we experience on an intuitive level, we've got an intuition here, 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 here. Intuition is functioning everywhere with the cosmic consciousness that is holding space for us. So a lot of us are going, wait, what? Right? Check out the double sextile to Jupiter from the moon and Pluto. I mean, this is tremendous right here. So we're waking up and going, well, we've been waking up, but more and more people are going to be waking up and seeing the truth and seeing the mismanagement of resources that affect all human beings. And we're going to be learning more about that and questioning it even more. And there might be some response, because the moon, wherever it transits, it wants to respond. So we're responding in more powerful ways, and there's a lot more emotional investment when it's conjunct Pluto. Pluto wants to get something done. In Capricorn, we want to get something done. We're tied to our sense of duty and responsibility. And with this connection, with this opportunity to Neptune and Jupiter, it needs to help us be much, much more compassionate, and there's the opportunity for healing with Jupiter there. And just remember that Jupiter opens things up. It helps us to invest in new ways. It helps us understand or explore at least what we believe in. And, it also rules travel, abundance, all opportunities for growth, right? So people in power, you can see these things like with people like, Elon Musk and making mistakes. Well, there's opportunities for the mistakes. But this is how, like even Jack Smith with Trump. this is how they get them. They give them enough rope, and then they hang themselves. And then it's just like, oh, well, there you go. All the pieces are in place. All the puzzles or all the pieces are there. Puzzle can now just be, and that's it. And it's done. So I think we can look forward to that in the future. Now, the other thing for today that's important is that Venus wants to bring in healing and harmony and union. And because of the trine to Chiron, it should be really healing for getting into our gifts. Chiron in Aries is so good for healing any abandonment issues, healing our impulsiveness. But then again, we've got a lot of fire going on, so we have to be careful. We have to, and especially with this opposition to Mars, be careful with our words. Be careful about people who might be mean with their words. Don't let them get away with it. Hold your ground. Stand up for yourself. So I think that's about it there. Because there's such an opportunity there for healing and starting fresh, starting new. The energy is definitely there. That's for sure. Okay, so that's, I think, more than enough for the weekly overview. So now I'm just going to keep focusing in on the moon. So the moon is in a T-square. See the T-square here? And it's going to get into a tighter orb, but to Uranus in the north node, and then over here to the south node. So what does the moon in Aquarius want to offer with this T-square here? I would say, especially because it's moving towards Saturn, I would say it has to do with some new rules that need to be implemented that think much more broadly than ever before. Some new original idea that maybe has been, maybe it's been percolating, maybe there's other people that have been working on it immensely, but with the moon moving towards Saturn, we might see it. And it would connect to the past and help free up the future, because Uranus is there with that north node, always trying to help us free up the future. But what's happening, and especially with this triple trine to Chiron here, I'm feeling like the moon in Aquarius is all about trying to get together some new laws that help with tolerance. To keep having these red flag laws be ignored or be, there needs to be changes. I guess from what happened with that Club Q in Colorado was that they were saying that the cops can't call in the red flag laws. It's like a family member that has to do that. Well, that might just be something that Colorado can change. But then again, maybe it's there for protection against the police force. I don't know. See, that's the thing. We don't have that problem here in Oregon, but I'm sure have other problems that I'll learn about when the time comes. But in all states, no matter where we are in the United States, we need strict gun laws. That's why Saturn has been in this T-square. You see how the moon is there. It's actually Saturn too. It's still there in the T-square. So by the time the moon gets to Saturn conjunct, right there, we're going to have a double T-square. From the past, from the crisis of the past to the safety needs of the future and the laws that need to be created and I'm thinking that they're already there, just like the Electoral Count Act is already there. We just need to have it be put into law and then enforced. It needs to pass through both the House and the Senate and then be enforced. And I think that that's what's going to happen. Hold on, I need to grab some water real quick. Be right back. You guys probably don't know this, but I'm much more of an introvert than I might appear. For me to just talk for like an hour or so is not normal. especially without stopping. So I tend to need a lot of water. So anywho, with the moon in this T-square formation, I am hoping that the public is going to make some demands on government as the moon moves towards Saturn, because I think we've had it. And we need that change, right? You see how we've got just think, this is where we're moving, and you'll see it as we move to the next day. But for Monday, these guys better be, I don't care if it's their vacation. They need to come back, and just skip their vacation, or maybe they are back. I don't know. I would think so. I would hope so. Yeah. And then the other thing that's coming up, you can see that because we've had that trine to Mars, from Saturn to Mars, the moon is the approaching energy stronger. So the moon coming this way is going to give some attention there, because remember, the moon gives a response and attention. And with Saturn, you can see the sextile so Saturn's at 19. These two, even though there's only one line, from Mercury, Venus is moving in that direction too, so I really do want to include both. And this brings in this aspect of the architect down to Mars. Now, Mars motivates, Mars brings in energy, Mars pushes energy, Mars helps us want to learn more, so that we can have those strong laws that protect everyone, because this is ridiculous. I mean, it's just, and it's been ridiculous for so long. We've lost, I think, what was it? Well, and it's not just the guns. It's COVID. This is still COVID going on. There's way too much. So anything else to the moon? No, I think I think this is just the beginning of it on Monday. Even though the moon's going to go past it, I feel like this is setting the stage for the rest of the week, this whole double T-square. So let's go ahead and go to Tuesday. Now you can see that the moon has definitely already crossed over, and it's on the other side and moving away. And you can see that double sextile there to the so Saturn is sextile, both of them, because Venus moved just 1 degree. So this is a much tighter orb here. So, and Mercury and Venus are so close together, so just think of Venus making comparisons, going for what it wants. It wants truth and wants protection. But then again, these not very smart people that are bigots and are very intolerant and make up parts of the population that, there's self-hatred in there. They need a lot of love, but I think that they really need to sit in jail or prison for some time to find their self-love, because they're hateful. And the moon has brought that out, and now there's an opportunity to move forward and do something about it. And with this opposition here going on all week, there's going to be a lot of talk about it. There might be some court cases that come right up, because Sag is, it's in that, it naturally, Jupiter and Sag naturally rule the 9th house, which is courts of law. I have the natural zodiac set up here for you guys, because I don't know where you live, and it would be ridiculous to put it anywhere else. You only do that with personal charts or event charts. But anyway, and I know this says event, but that's just the way the program's set up. So Mercury's bringing in messages, will continue to bring in the news. Venus will compare and say, hey, this isn't right, this is right, let's go this way. This double sextile over here to Saturn has to do with laws that govern the country. And the moon has everybody, I would say, I would think, has everybody responding to whatever their beliefs are. And the moon, I'm sorry, not the moon, Mercury and Venus, look at this double square to Neptune. That's really important because, and my goodness, and then we have to remember Neptune is square Mars, so we have a T-square going on with Neptune up at the apex, and Neptune is saying, do you want people to continue to die needlessly? Do you want to be concerned about going grocery shopping? Do you want to live in fear like that all the time? Or do you want some new laws? Because definitely with the aspect of the architect, the laws can be created and passed, put into place, at least the red flag laws in stronger places or stronger ways. You know, the guy that went in and shot up Club Q, his dad was so happy to learn, well, at least he's not gay. It's like, what? What? It's okay that he's a murderer, but at least he's not gay. I mean, this is like, what? That's what this Neptune in T-square here to Mars, it's like we're learning the way crazy people think. And you know, Neptune rules prisons. Neptune rules the 12th house. The 12th house, prisons, institutions, any large organization that is huge. I mean, not just large, but huge. It rules endings and beginnings, but you don't get the new beginning until you complete that level of consciousness. You don't get to rise to a new level of consciousness without completing the old one. And you can be in between. You know, you can have lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of being in between if you won't commit to getting to the truth. So Jupiter here should support that. But there's that stubborn holding on, like I was saying in the beginning, that stubborn holding on to the past, because some people just want to be in control. Oh, goodness. So, okay, so what else for the, so remember with Jupiter in the semi-square here, the action is going to need to be taken for the safety, the safety and the freedom. And with the moon in the double trine down here to Mars, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of talk and a lot of questioning and a lot of action and a lot of lies, but then a lot of, the information coming out, like the crazy stuff coming out, and we're questioning and going, what do we really want to create? Because Neptune is our interconnectedness with each other. Above all, it's our compassion, and it stays in one sign for 14 years or more. It takes 165 years to get all the way around the zodiac, so it's really important that it's in Pisces, and it's going to be years before it moves into Aries, but in Pisces Neptune rules Pisces, so this is a double whammy of the need for compassion and the need for the interconnectedness. I mean, I don't care what anybody believes. I don't want to see anybody hurting someone else. I don't mind seeing them sit in prison and listen, and think and listen inwardly and whatever, but I don't want to see anybody else hurt. So, okay, so that feels complete with Tuesday and the moon. Let's see what Wednesday has in store. And remember, the backdrop for the week is still what I said in the beginning for that first half hour is still in effect. The moon is now in Pisces, making a square aspect so the 8 degrees Pisces here is an exact square to the sun here at 8 degrees Sag, right? So again, there's a bit of a challenge, but it could turn into a strength. But the moon moves so quickly. But it feels to me like the challenge is, what's the truth? And what are they doing with it? Are they just spitting it out there like like the victim consciousness, or is there more compassion? Because it could go either way, depending on who it is, who you're talking to, or who you're with. Everybody has their opinion. And so are they coming from victim consciousness, or are they coming from compassion? That's always going to be the question. Pisces also rules immigration. So, there could be something that comes up there. I mean, and the Ukraine war is all tied up here. And you can see Saturn is still in that aspect of the architect, up there in a powerful position, up at the apex of this kind of a bucket, which this is all about needing the laws in place and enforcing them, not just talking about it. I mean, the NRA is falling apart anyway. It's gone. It's already been pegged by a bipartisan Senate Intel committee on, September 27th, 2019, pegged as a foreign asset. So why would the NRA be able to continue to be, have any power in the United States anymore? Why? And then we also have gun runners, people that make money, these huge, large, I'm all for the gun companies taking more responsibility for what they're putting out there. Like, there are some guns that should never be manufactured for they should not be allowed to be put, at least that's my opinion, put into a regular person's hands. I mean, they're military rifles. They're for war. They're not for walking around. What the hell? So that's where I stand on it. But now I'll get off my soapbox and try to just focus in here. So with Wednesday, the moon being in Pisces, it's going to be, I think, more compassionate. This is great for paying attention to your dreams, waking up in the morning and going, oh, hey, that was an interesting dream. Make sure you write those things down. Keep a dream journal by your bed. Because it's going to get even stronger as for Thursday, because the moon is headed towards Neptune and Jupiter. So there can be some spiritual enlightenment that comes through. Let's see, but other than that, the other aspects are the same. There's nothing different, actually. Yeah, no, okay. Pretty much everything's right there in the beginning of the week, playing through. Okay, so you can see now the moon. So Thursday morning, December 1st. Woohoo! We do have extra. So the moon is. Let's just put this all together here. 21 degrees, 22 degrees, 28 degrees. This is a stellium in Pisces. This is a lot of compassion, a lot of interconnectedness. And then there's the square up to, again, Venus that wants to protect. This is like mom energy. Hey, remember way back when Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, MAD? Before them, it was awful. I lived in Southern California. I was born in Southern California. I lived there for all those years, and I'll never forget what it was like. People could just buy a case of beer and drive home drinking, from work. Like, imagine what could go wrong. Imagine the road rage. Imagine the going over the lines. Imagine the speeding. Imagine all of that. And, people died all the time. So imagine what could happen if mothers aligned in a new way with guns. Like, I don't know, maybe mothers against assault rifles. That'd be what, MAAR? But this is how it starts, right? So, and DUIs carry a heavy penalty. People don't get away with those things anymore. It can ruin their lives if it happens. You can get away with maybe one or two, but by the third one, you've got some heavy duty, like, maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe $25,000 to $30,000 fines, I think. I could be wrong, but I've heard of people whose lives have just been, like, it takes them forever to get out from underneath that. And imagine not being able to drive until those fines are paid off. So we need laws like that for people. Well, I'm sure they're there. They're probably there. I'm thinking they are. So, okay, the moon conjunct Neptune. This is a great day for music, art, movies, healing, meditation, dream interpretation, visiting people in hospitals, institutions. It's challenging for COVID. It's challenging for mental health. It's challenging for getting to the truth. With this square here, there are messages coming out that are going to be hard to take in for some people. I think there's going to be something. It could even be on the political sphere with all this Sag energy, because Sag rules, politics. Jupiter rules politics. And remember, we've got that aspect of the architect going on here, where the clean. Well, I don't know that there is such a thing as a perfectly clean politician, but for the most part, I think we can give a lot of them a huge pat on the back for doing good work. But they're having to work within a system that isn't perfect. So more power to getting a better system going with this aspect here. And because the opportunity is definitely there all week. But there's challenge. There are challenges here on Thursday. If you are going to try and choose, if you are going to try to choose a day off, this would be a good one to take, I would say. But the moon will move, but Mercury and Venus up here are still going to remain in that square aspect to Neptune and Jupiter. But the moon will cross through. But the moon is going to wake us up to something. The moon in Sag can help us connect with our intuition. This can be great for divination. This can be great for planning, for travel plans. It might be a challenging day to travel, but it could definitely be good for planning for the future. Figuring out where you want to go. Something that would help your spirit grow. And the moon, we have a double T-square going on to Mars here. The Neptune square Mars that we've all been in, and Mars opposing. And this T-square up here. Now the moon is involved. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of confrontation, but could lead to a breakthrough. As into, so more learning, more messages, trying to bring in the harmony. But then over here, there's some delusion, there's some challenge, but then there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of creativity here. So what do we want to do with it is the question. Okay, let's move to Friday. In Friday, you can see the moon's right here at 5 degrees Aries. And you can see that square I was talking about, that's still there. Now Mercury moves along pretty quickly, but we're still in a tight orb, and Venus will remain in this square beyond this week, and Mercury will hold there too. So again, sorry, the T-square and the double opposition. Mars, or the Sun, actually is moving ahead enough to where we even have an opposition going on here. And it's going to keep, the Sun moves a degree every day. So, yeah. So that T-square is still in effect. But the Moon, because the Moon has moved into Aries, it has gathered some steam in a way that is like, okay, I get it. Now I know what I want to do. And the moving forward is very helpful on the personal level. And it's in a semi-square here to Saturn. So the question is about, what do I want to solidify? I'm trying to master something in my life. Now I know what I want to do. How do I get that into form? And action needs to be taken always when we have semi-squares. And remember, all week long, this is just a reminder of the same thing I said before, that for the soul growth and for the healing to happen, action has to be taken in order to free yourself up, right? You wake up and you know something and you can't go back. And actions have to change because you can't go back. That's what this is about. And it's going to stay there for a while, because Uranus it's retrograde, but then it's going to go direct, and when it goes direct, and this whole thing here is going to be for quite some time. So just get used to realizing things and you cannot go back. So the Moon in Aries, and it's moving closer and closer to Chiron as we move forward in the day and even tomorrow, and it's in a double trine to the Sun. So the Sun in Sag is helping us get to the truth. It's helping us with our intuition. It's helping us to move forward, and hopefully with our gifts in a brand new way, because we've worked through enough of the woundedness, enough of the trauma, and enough of the deepest conflicts that we can now move forward shining in our light. And now we have the Moon there that's more courageous than ever in Aries. It's like, okay, I'm here, I know who I am, and I'm going this way. That's awesome. Okay, so then Saturday, Neptune stations direct, 4:16 p.m. Pacific time. Oops, sorry, there we go. Okay, and it does so with the Moon at 23 degrees Aries in a square to Pluto. So there could be some new power struggles, but it's okay. It's no big deal. In the semi-square up here to the Sun, action's going to need to be taken to stand up and be in your leadership. There's a lot of leadership involved when it comes to Sag. And Aries and Leo. That doesn't mean that any of the other signs are not in their leadership. It's just that there's more courage in the fire signs, that's all. We need that fire to get us going sometimes, right? Let's see. Now, Neptune stationing direct will help us to, and you can see here it's at 22. The way it's going to go is that now that it's, so December 3rd, 4:16 p.m. Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time, with Neptune direct here, it's still in that square, right? So we're still, and I do want to still bring in Jupiter, but we do have that double square up here to Mercury and Venus. So we're still working through. Remember, squares are tension fields, right? So we're still working through what we believe in, what we want to connect with, how we can create what it is that we really want to experience, because this is all very experiential here. Sag energy is all about experience. Well, everything is about experience. But now that Neptune is stationing direct, it's going to sit there, I mean, it's a very slow moving planet anyway, and when it goes direct doesn't mean it just, and the planets they don't really ever go backwards anyway. It's just that our relationship to them on Earth moves because it's an Earth thing. So Neptune going direct eventually, it's gonna take until, oh my goodness, I'm feeling like next spring, before it gets out of the retro shade. And what this relates to is immigration. It relates to, maybe there's some moving forward with the Ukraine war. Maybe there's some moving forward with COVID too. Maybe enough people, well, there's a tension field here of getting enough people to believe in, protecting themselves, wearing the masks if you can't. Well, I mean, myself, it's like vaccine and mask is the way I'm going, but not everybody wants to do that, and I understand, and it's our own free will to do what we want. But with Neptune, see, Neptune and Pisces has been that wet COVID energy, and then Jupiter there has blown it up, and the square to Mars, right? That's still, because remember, Mars moves energy, Gemini rules the lungs, and the challenge has been, to slow down the wet spray coming out that is infected, right? This airborne illness, wet airborne illness. This is why I've been saying for a long, long time that we're not through COVID, and I don't even know when we'll know when we get there, because it all depends on people making their own lifestyle choices, or making different lifestyle choices, and protecting ourselves. And the thing that just breaks my heart is that the little tiny ones, with getting flu and then this respiratory virus on top of COVID being out there. And then not enough doctors and nurses anymore because they're so stressed out. A lot of them have quit. And hospitals that don't have the equipment in the beds. That's just atrocious. So this is a revisiting. But now that Neptune is going direct, things should move forward, and hopefully by the time, I don't even know how long it's going to take. I can't even say, because again, it's up to everyone's free will. It's like trying to predict, whether the Democrats or the Republicans win. Well, how the hell do I know how everyone is going to vote? I mean, we can try and figure it out, but a lot of us got that wrong, because how do you read millions and millions of people's free will? You can't. It changes every day. Like a lot of them planned to vote, but then they didn't. Or a lot of them said they weren't going to vote Republican, but then they did. Anywho, with the moon in Aries, Mars does rule Aries, and with it being square to Pluto, and it's going to be a tighter square. See how Pluto's at 26? It's going to be a tighter square even throughout the night. And this has been building. This is in the afternoon. I didn't do the 6 a.m. with this chart because we already know that the moon was crossing over Chiron. So illuminating greatest gifts. And with that trine to the sun, there was that opportunity all week long to be in your greatest gifts. And then with the moon here squaring Pluto, there's no more of any giving yourself away. When the moon moves in Aries, you're in your independence. You are initiating something and asserting yourself, asserting your individuality. And you're not going to like being left out, and you're not going to like being last, and you're going to want to move forward. Just be careful you don't step on somebody's toes as you go, because, with this square. And so remember, this is building all day Saturday, right? And it's going to last through Saturday night. So be careful on Saturday. Let's see, is there anything else with that moon as it moves? I mean, it's in this sesquisquare here to the sun, and so that's a lot of fire. And I would normally say it's a little bit of a stubborn aspect, but because of the fire, I guess the stubbornness would be in the realm of it's my way or the highway. Basically, get out of the way. I wouldn't want to be on the road Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, because remember, the building energy is stronger. Sunday would probably be fine, though. But yeah, let's see. And so anyway, back to Neptune direct. Sorry. So Neptune dissolves false beliefs. Neptune helps us to be more sensitive. It can also make us want to numb out sometimes. Neptune in its best can transcend the false beliefs, can rise above, give people the benefit of the doubt, especially joined with Jupiter. It's really, really good for movies and art and music of all types. There's no, limitation, and especially with Pisces. Neptune is Pisces, and Neptune is pure potentiality that just continue. There's no limit. It's limitless potential is, I guess, the best way to say it. There's no boundaries with it. That's why we can run into like addiction issues. It wants to escape. That's why we can run into addiction issues. But it has a creative vision to it. It's like the highest levels of creativity. That limitless expansion into new ideas. So it is in the square to, still in that T-square to Mars, and so there's tension there. There's a lot of tension, but it can turn into a great strength if we can all just care about each other and pay attention to our dreams. This can be so good for dreams, especially moving, as it's moving forward. But as it moves forward, it's going to get into a tighter orb to Jupiter. But Jupiter's going to keep going, and, it'll be out of orb anyway, because Jupiter moves so much more quickly. Jupiter only takes one year to get through a sign, and it makes it all the way around within 12 years. So every 12 years we have a Jupiter return, depending on, I don't know what house Jupiter is in your chart. But anyway, I think that's it. So with Neptune moving forward, I guess the last thing I'll say is that now there's not a holding back with the delusion, with the lies, with the deceit, with the victimization, with the, playing the victim role. Now there's a moving forward in the, connection to considering everyone and not blaming people anymore. But for some, they're just going to have to keep going through it. And there's, it's a lifetime choice. I mean, it's a thing that you have to make in some lifetime at some point in your evolution. But there's a spiritual longing to Neptune that is always calling every soul. And so that's why you don't have to worry, because and it can look like in one lifetime like a person has never grown at all, and they just get better at being more and more of a dirtbag, and that is very well true. But we don't know what's going to come at the end, and they have to experience that, and then maybe that's a catalyst for change. Because the important thing is just to remember that every soul is geared naturally. It's a natural part of its makeup to want to go back to its spirit. This is why the soul and the spirit are not the same thing. So every soul wants to go back to its original source energy, which is Neptune. And that's why we don't know how many years it might take, or how many lifetimes, I should say, that it might take somebody to really want to consciously choose. That the longing is always there, always in the genetic, makeup. But when there's consciousness choosing, which would be like the sun and all the personal planets, like choosing to go in the direction of the spirit. Now that is so powerful. So that's what I think is happening with you guys, is that you've worked so hard for so long that now things are just going to click into place, and your creativity is going to blossom, and you're going to be more and more geared towards creating positive reality and disengaging from negative reality, because the negativity doesn't feel good anymore, but it does to the dark, to the darkness, to the people that are engaged in negative intent. They feed off of that. They feed off of, and it's an awful thing, but it's finite. It doesn't go with the flow of the universe. So when a finite circle is going, when a vicious circle is going, eventually it has to break. So I believe that's going to be the case with Neptune going direct eventually. Things are going to open up and go in the right direction. Well, I mean, retrogradations happen anyway. It's just a time to review, figure out what do you really want. Always go towards the love, and you'll be fine. Okay, well, that's it for this week, you guys. Big hugs as always. Take good care. Bye.